Man, where do we even start with this epic adventure? Well, here's the deal. When I started this journey, when I did the trip to the Canary Islands, I never even thought it would be such an adventure. Because of that, I also didn't start to vlog or to film anything in the beginning, right? So I guess we just start from the beginning. So the first thing that happened was that my flight was upgraded big time. And I'm talking about big time. I already had a pretty good seat to begin with because I decided to upgrade to priority boarding. And because I upgraded to priority boarding, I also get to take another bag with me, another checked bag, without paying extra. So for me this was a no-brainer because I needed the additional bag, and the fees for the additional bag would actually surpass my upgrade to priority boarding with the included baggage, which is very strange, I know, but things happen. So we managed to secure that one, which was great. But what I didn't realize back then was that they also upgraded my seat. So I had a pretty good seat to begin with, but my final seat was a crazy seat. First row, just across the faces of the stewardesses. I've never been in such a seat. I also don't really know what plane it was, so we cannot really find that one out, but it was the biggest leg space I've ever seen in a regular commercial airplane. And I was just sitting across the stewardesses. Which leads me to the second point, and that is that this was a very strange seat to have. Because if you sit across a person and you have a language barrier with that person, right? My airline was a Spanish airline, so they didn't, I don't know, they didn't like to speak English, or they couldn't speak English that well, or they just didn't want to speak, whatever the reason might be. The thing is, I was sitting across these stewardesses and we were facing each other, and it was always this weird moment of me looking at them and then looking away, and then them looking at me and then looking away when I look at them, right? It was just like a weird thing. I don't enjoy these seats where you face another person, especially if you cannot really communicate with that person. And also, that is another fact. We couldn't even really talk in there because the distance was quite far, and an airplane is a loud place to be in. So we would have to scream, which is probably the real reason why we wouldn't communicate in the first place. But the good thing is I had this best seat in the airplane, and because of that I kind of was free to change seats wherever I wanted to go to if they were free. Because I already paid for the highest seat possible in the economy class, which kind of was the business class in that plane. Anyways, I made the decision that we need to change these seats because this is so uncomfortable for me. Also, there was another issue that because it was the stewardesses that were sitting right across me, they also had to get up frequently, right? Because they had to serve all the passengers. And that made it very, very stressful to sleep there, because you always had the feeling of kind of being observed by someone. And then there was all of this hustle and bustle of them getting up and serving the passengers and then getting back to their seats. And their seats are, of course, the ones that flip up and down. So you had the noises of that happening. And I decided, man, this is kind of a weird place. It's a cool place to be in. And I'm so glad that I got this experience and we had this for a while. But it's time to change the seats, man, because I cannot sleep there. It's insane. So I did that. We changed seats. I basically just moved like one row back, 1 or 2 rows back, and I still was in the business class department, but didn't have the facing issue. So that was a big win, big win. And that is probably the place I would choose next time if I get to make this choice. So this was the flight. And then I thought, man, this is kind of an adventure. This is definitely more interesting than I thought it would be. The initial reason for the trip wasn't to have an adventure or anything. It was more like to get out and kind of enjoy life a bit. Because life has been very busy, very unfortunate things happening with the family. And yeah, sad things, man. And I was traveling in the US and it was such a great experience, and I miss it ever since. I always miss it when I leave the US. Half of my family is there, so I always miss it when I go back. But this time it was heavy. It was so heavy. I was so homesick after getting back here. Man, I just needed to get out of here. I needed to get somewhere else, have some kind of a different perspective on life, and then move from there. And this was the initial plan for this trip, and yeah, we made it happen, man. I decided to just fly anywhere, basically. I made the decision, okay, Canary Islands sounds good to me, is far away from here, kind of a cool place to be in, also neutral ground because none of my family members lives there. I first made the decision that I should go to Fuerteventura. But Fuerteventura wasn't happening, prices were through the roof, you couldn't get a stay, and everything was just booked out and insanely expensive. Almost like a transatlantic trip. And I said, no, we're not going to do that. So I chose the next island. And the next island was Tenerife. And Tenerife, man, I can tell you, was quite the experience. So I didn't have a hotel or anything. I just decided to book the plane, get the ride there, see what it's like, right? Get a rental car, drive around the island, and then stay where I want to stay. So that's what I did. I got the rental car, picked up the rental car. That was a journey in itself because it turned out that the rental car company, which was a big one, it was Avis, wasn't even at the airport, which was so strange because it said in the address that it is the TFS, Tenerife South Airport, but it isn't. They just have like a shuttle bus situation from TFS to the actual Avis location. So took me a while to figure that out. Also, slight language barriers in our ways, so we had to ask a few people on how to get there. I think it was like 5 people that worked at TFS that I had to approach to finally find out where we need to go. Anyways, I took that shuttle. Shuttle was a great experience. People so nice, awesome experience. They drove me there, took about 10 to 15 minutes. I was at Avis and I got my rental car. People at Avis, big thumbs up, man. What a great service. Insane hospitality, very good experience. So I picked up the rental car, being hooked on all departments and so excited to do this trip. And then I got to drive to a city and get a hotel there. That was the plan. So I did that. I saw a hotel. Hotel looked pretty nice. Pictures looked awesome. Was a 3-star hotel. And this was the worst hotel I've ever been in. And for that reason, I'm not going to put their name out, but that was something else, man. And this is not this video is supposed to be a pretty good vibe. My overall experience, and I will say that right now, was absolutely amazing. I wouldn't change a single thing on that whole Canary adventure. But I also want to keep it real. And this hotel was not it, man. This hotel was ridiculous, to be honest. So let's start with getting in there. So getting in there was an adventure because they had an elevator, but the elevator was too small. Like the elevator was this 1 meter by 1 meter. It would kind of fit one person, but without baggage. But that begs the question on how to get the baggage up. Yeah, that was the first one, man. So I was in the 4th floor and I had big baggage with me. I had 2 carry-ons basically and 2 backpacks. So the only thing that was left to do is carry that stuff up the stairs. So that's what I did. Very exhausting, very unnecessary. Was there at my room, and then the following things happened. I opened the door, thought, okay, this is not too bad. Then I tried to put the lights on. And let's just say there were no lights. I kid you not, they didn't have lights, man. That was so weird because I first thought, okay, I'm missing something. I have to put in the card into some kind of electricity circuit to enable the whole thing so that we can get light and whatnot. No. First of all, there was no card reader for that type of purpose. And then I also looked around and there was not even a light installed. Like there was no light at the ceiling whatsoever. So I thought, this is interesting. This is the first one. But that didn't throw me off too much because I was only in there for one night anyway, so I thought, oh, well, whatever. I tried to get a shower in and I went to the bathroom, and that bathroom was the weirdest bathroom setup I've ever seen. Picture this. You have a room 1.5 by 1.5 meters, very small room. There was a sink, of course the toilet, and then we had like a bathtub shower setup configuration. Here is the issue. First of all, this room was so small that you couldn't move into any direction without touching the sink, the toilet, or the bathtub. I've never seen something like this. This was like a straight 360 rotation on your feet at the exact position where you stood, because otherwise touching stuff. So weird, man, so weird. Then the stuff was not clean. The stuff was actually very weird. Like, it was not dirty in particular, but it was just like so old that you couldn't even get it clean. So that led me towards the feeling that I don't want to touch too much in there. But that was kind of not possible because you didn't have space to move in there. So that got me kind of not excited. And then I had to take a shower, and then I opened the shower curtain, and what I saw was something I've never seen before. So there was a bathtub, but that bathtub was the size of 1/3 of a regular bathtub, but it still had the full 45-degree slant. The length of the 45-degree thing was actually regular size, but then the footprint of the flat part of the bathtub was that size. And I kid you not, it was the size of the length of my feet. So that was ridiculous. I tried to shower in there and it was almost not possible to not slip in there. I had to stand on the exact location where it was flat, because of course you cannot stand on a wet 45-degree angle in a bathtub because you will slip and break your neck. But I also couldn't really stand there because they mounted the shower head above the 45-degree angle. So I was kind of contemplating if I would go crazy in there, because where I was standing and where the only place where I could actually stand was not where the shower head was. Man, that was bugging me. At this point, I was pretty, let's just say, I was not having it, man. I was kind of regretting to book that hotel. That was a 3-star hotel, and it kind of felt like a waste of money in a way, because I was just like, why are we doing this, man? And then I got out, finally, after getting out of the shower. I got out and I decided, okay, it's time to go bed now. It's about 10 and I need to sleep because I'm tired. I had this 5-hour flight, all the other hustle. Oh, I forgot one thing. There was no parking lot anywhere near the hotel. So I actually had to get a parking lot in the city center. And it took me 1.5 kilometers with 4 bags to walk to my hotel. I forgot that. But yeah, that was happening too. So I had all of this and I was just drained. I was just so exhausted. So I decided, okay, I get the shower and go to bed. Then when I pulled up the blanket of that bed, I wanted to leave, man. I pulled up the blanket and there were some kind of animals in that bed, man. It was not bed bugs, but it was very similar, but different. Similar in size, similar in looks, but they weren't jumping around. I don't think they bit, but it was just weird animals in that bed, man. And I didn't know what they were and I wasn't having it, man. I was just like, what are we doing here, man? This is a 3-star hotel. They don't have an elevator, 4 floors up walking with 4 bags, no light, weirdest bathroom ever, weirdest bathtub / shower situation ever. And then we have this, man, this bed. So at this point, I really contemplated if I should leave this hotel right then and there to just walk to my parking lot to sleep in the car. I kid you not. It was on my mind to do this for several minutes before laying in that bed. And then I thought, man, should we just drive to a hardware store, get like some kind of a painter's cover up plastic and just cover up the whole bed and then just sleep on that, man? That's what I thought. And then I thought, well, but there is no hardware store anywhere close. So I thought, okay, this is not an option too. And then I just made the decision to sleep there in my clothes while covering that bed with the blankets to not see these animals. And also for some kind of reason they weren't on the sheet, they were just underneath the sheet. And then I just made the decision to sleep on that sheet for a few hours while still being in my clothes, and then leave as soon as I wake up, no matter what time it is. Just leave, man. If it is 4 a.m., just leave, man. And that's what I did. And I left, I think it was like at 5. Problem was, and that's where it gets really, really sketchy. There was a huge thunderstorm happening that night. And I heard it the whole night. And I woke up at 11 or something, maybe 12, probably 12. And I thought, man, this thunderstorm / insanely heavy rain could actually derail my plan of being able to get out of here once I wake up. And the worst thing that could happen is me having to extend that hotel. That's what my thoughts were, because remember, I had a 1.5 kilometer walking distance with 4 baggages. It was a heavy thunderstorm and we had rain that was so heavy that it would fill up the street with water, because the whole system of drainage was kind of overloaded. So that was happening. I kind of just prayed at that moment, to be honest. I was just like, man, please God, please make this whole situation of the thunderstorm stop so that I can have a minute to just get my baggage to the car and then we can continue thunderstorm. And that's what happened, man. And I'm so glad that worked out for me. I had like a time window of, I would say, like 1 hour where the rain dialed back heavily. It was still happening, but manageable. And yeah, that's the time I went to my car. So I got out of my hotel room, didn't think of something worse, and then there was water in the floor of the hotel. And I was like, what is happening, man? This is insane. And then I walked past that water with my rolling carry-on. And I just hoped that I would be able to get down the stairs. And I took a left, and then I saw buckets on the whole leeway to the staircase. And I thought, this is insane, man. The roof is leaking. And then I saw the water coming down the walls and also the whole ceiling being drenched. Man, I don't know if the roof started leaking that night or if this is a permanent thing, but that will probably be the end of this ceiling, man. For good. That was soaked. Man, it was crazy. I just hope the drywall wouldn't come down. Anyways, I got out of there, and then, as I said, streets underwater. I thought this is a problem because I have a rolling carry-on, and this carry-on was 28 kilos, so there was no way I would be able to carry that. So I just thought, man, we have to find a street where we can drag this. And I did, and it was happening, and it was great. I had this 1 hour time window, and I was able to get the stuff to the car. At least that is what I thought. So nearby the car, I saw that the whole parking lot was flooded. I kid you not, it was flooded. The water was so high, and I had regular shoes on, and it was cold. And I was like, no, this is not happening, man. I'm not going to walk with my only pair of shoes in a jeans at a very cold night during a thunderstorm in a very dirty water on a flooded parking lot. This is not happening right now. And I just scouted the location. I just left my bags on the street. I just circled the parking lot, and I actually found a place where the parking lot was kind of elevated. And there was a dry way leading towards my car. That was like a godsend thing. Yeah, I was able to take that way, get into my car, and then drove the car through the flooding, through the water, and then just out of the parking lot towards the street that was also elevated and also had a slant so water would go down. And then I was able to pack up the car and leave that location. Man, that was the first night. At this point in time, I heavily contemplated if this is the right place for me to be in. I was just like, man, I was in the US. The US was the greatest times ever. I had such a good time. I met so many people, insane hospitality no matter where I went. Just the best times ever. Just a regular hotel room. I think it was, I don't even know if it was a 3-star, but it was just a hotel, regular hotel, similar price to the one I had in the Canaries, the first one I was just talking about. But the size of the room was like 5 times the size. It was clean, it was not flooded, it was no bed bugs. It was just a very different experience. And I thought, man, is this where I should stay? Is this a vibe? Also, what I forgot to mention is before I even arrived at the hotel, I had 3 people curse at me before I was even there on my first day. That was such a stark contrast that I was actually contemplating maybe leaving the island and flying somewhere else. But I just knew, man, from here we can only go up. Like, it can't be much worse than that. And that is actually what happened. We went up big time. Man, I'm so glad now. This might sound like a whole situation where I'm just like bashing that whole experience. I'm not. Like, as I said in the beginning of the video, and that's the reason why I did, the Canaries trip was so awesome. I wouldn't change a single thing, not even the one I was talking about, because overall that contributed to the experience and it was such a cool experience, and I get to tell the story right now, right? So I wouldn't change a thing, man. It was awesome. So during these talking head segments here, we will talk about many things, and most of them will be awesome. So this is just like a quick side note here. Anyways, this was the first day in Tenerife, and I was just like, man, this is kind of iffy. I hope this is not going to be like that for the whole trip. And it wasn't. So next time I booked it, I went to a different location, and during this whole Tenerife trip, the first day kind of overwhelmed me so much I didn't even contemplate doing a video about it, because thinking about it now, this would have been the craziest video footage ever. That thunderstorm, that flooded hotel, that weird bathroom. I think I took pictures though, so maybe we can insert them. But it wasn't even on my mind to take a video, because as I said earlier, the whole reason for the trip was just to change locations and have a different perspective on life, somewhere where I don't have any relationships, on a neutral ground. No family, no friends, no nothing, just people I don't know, different language, different place I haven't seen before. So first day after going out of the hotel in Puerto de la Cruz, what a nice day, man. What a beautiful city. It is like a little haven, pretty caved in. You are safe from the environment. It's not too stormy, even though outside it's very stormy. Right, you're in a very good place to be in. It's a beautiful little city, nice restaurants. I got to visit like a restaurant. I don't know if it is a German restaurant or if it just has strong German influences, right? But they served pretty much like a crossover between German food and Spanish food. And it was such a blast, man. Super cool owner, thumbs up to the hospitality, absolute banging. Also, very nice mojito, very nice, muy bien. Yeah, that was happening, so I was pretty happy about that, stoked about that. Still, I knew I need to leave that place tomorrow, because that 3-star hotel is a hot mess, man. As they continued, we just had the greatest experiences, man. I found the cutest little cities, I found the most beautiful houses, I found crazy hills, man, crazy hills. Yeah, my second stay was a big upgrade from my first one. It was basically a house up the hills, up north, on almost a mountaintop, on a volcanic, this is a whole volcanic island, right? So this was a steep mountain, and this leads us to the next experience. And the next experience was, when I booked this Airbnb, I didn't knew where it was. I mean, I saw it on the map, but I didn't realize it was on a mountaintop, right?